This brain hack can make you inhumanly strong or no longer human. The promise hangs in the air, tantalizing and terrifying. A key to unlock the body's ultimate potential, a mental switch to unleash strength far beyond accepted human limits. Imagine it, the ability to lift a car, bend steel with your bare hands, leap impossible distances. This isn't the realm of comic books or fantastical fiction, proponents whisper, but a latent capacity within our own neurology, a hidden reservoir of power waiting to be tapped. They call it various names: limbic disinhibition, primal overdrive, the Berserker protocol. But the core concept is the same, a deliberate conscious hack of the brain's intricate safety mechanisms. The science, or rather the speculative neurophilosophy behind it, hinges on a simple, brutal truth: your body is lying to you. Every moment of every day, your brain actively prevents you from using your full muscular strength. It's a necessary deception, a series of governors and inhibitors evolved over millennia to protect you from self-destruction. Your muscles, if allowed to contract with their absolute maximum force, could tear themselves from your bones, shatter your joints, and rupture tendons. The Golgi tendon organs, sensory receptors located where muscle fibers connect to tendons, are prime examples of these safeguards. When they sense excessive tension, they trigger an inhibitory reflex, forcing the muscle to relax. Pain, too, is a powerful inhibitor, screaming at you to stop before catastrophic damage occurs. The hack proposes to systematically dismantle these safeguards, not through crude chemical intervention or invasive surgery, but through intense, esoteric mental conditioning, a fusion of deep meditative states, biofeedback mastery, and a radical reinterpretation of willpower. Practitioners claim to learn to consciously override the signals from the Golgi tendon organs, to mute the neurological scream of pain, and to bypass the fear centers in the amygdala that would normally recoil from such exertion. Dr. Eris Thorne, a controversial neuroscientist whose work was largely dismissed by mainstream academia before his mysterious disappearance, was perhaps the most vocal, if clandestine, proponent of this theory. His fragmented writings, circulated in shadowy online forums, speak of accessing the reptilian core of the brain, the primal engine that, in moments of life or death crisis, can grant fleeting moments of hysterical strength. Thorne believed this wasn't an anomaly, but a baseline potential deliberately suppressed by the over-civilized neocortex. The human animal, Thorne wrote in one leaked monograph, is a titan shackled by its own intellect. We have built cages of reason and fear around a core of raw, untamed power. The key is not to build stronger cages, but to find a master override for the locks. His proposed method, the Thorne Accords as some called them, involved weeks, sometimes months, of grueling mental exercises. These included sensory deprivation to heighten internal awareness, pain exposure therapy to recalibrate the body's response to agony, and visualization techniques so intense they bordered on self-induced psychosis. The goal was to achieve a state of focused disinhibition, where the conscious mind could selectively deactivate the body's natural limiters while maintaining a degree of control, or so the theory went. Early anecdotal accounts, often unverifiable, painted a picture of astonishing results. An underground strongman, previously struggling with a 600-pound deadlift, reportedly hoisted over 1,000 pounds after several months under a Thorne-inspired regimen. A martial artist, small in stature, was said to have broken concrete blocks with an ease that defied physics, his strikes landing with an audible concussive force that seemed impossible for his frame. These individuals, if the stories are to be believed, had tapped into something profound. They moved with an unnatural grace and power, their bodies performing feats that should have resulted in immediate, crippling injury. Yet they seemed to emerge unscathed, or at least indifferent to the damage. The inhuman strength was undeniable, according to these whispers. The feeling, as described by one alleged practitioner, was like a dam bursting within. Not just power, but certainty. The weight isn't heavy. The steel isn't strong. You will simply unmakes its resistance. But here, the narrative takes a darker turn. The "we're no longer human" part of the equation begins to cast its long, chilling shadow. The very mechanisms being bypassed, pain, fear, mechanical limitation, are not just biological safeguards. They're integral components of our human experience. They inform our empathy, our caution, our understanding of vulnerability, both our own and that of others. What happens when these are systematically stripped away? Dr. Thorne himself, in his later, more fragmented notes, hinted at the profound psychological toll. The disinhibition is not selective. One chilling entry reads, "The gates, once opened, allow more than just strength to flood through. The primal self, the pre-human, is not a gentle giant. It is a predator." The reported side effects among those who delve deep into this hack are deeply unsettling. Initially, it might manifest as a heightened sense of detachment. Emotions become muted, replaced by a cold, analytical focus on capability and objective. Empathy, the ability to connect with and understand the feelings of others, begins to erode. Other people cease to be individuals and are increasingly perceived as either obstacles, tools, or irrelevant background noise. As the hack deepens and the strength becomes more accessible and profound, more disturbing changes are said to occur. Irritability can flare into explosive, disproportionate rage. The nuanced social cues that govern human interaction are ignored or misinterpreted, leading to increasingly erratic and antisocial behavior. Paranoia can set in, as the individual, hyper-aware of their own extraordinary power, starts to see threats and challenges everywhere. One particularly harrowing account, attributed to a former associate of a limbic disinhibition study group, described the transformation of a man named Marcus, a former powerlifter. At first, it was incredible. Mark was shattering records, his own and everyone else's. He felt like a god. But then, he changed. His eyes went flat. He stopped talking about anything but his potential. He'd get this hungry look. One day, his dog annoyed him by barking too much. He didn't hit it. He just squeezed. The sound, I still hear it. There was no anger in his face, no remorse. Just quiet assessment, like he was testing the tensile strength of a new material. The no longer human aspect isn't necessarily about growing fur and fangs. It's about the erosion of the psyche, the regression to a state that prioritizes raw power and survival above all else. The complex tapestry of human emotion, morality, and social connection frays and unravels, leaving behind something terrifyingly simple and brutally efficient. The very focus required to maintain the disinhibition, to constantly push past the body's screaming protests, seems to rewire the brain, reinforcing primal pathways at the expense of higher cognitive and emotional functions. Some theorists postulate that the hack doesn't just unlock physical strength. It unlocks a different mode of consciousness, one that is fundamentally incompatible with human society. In this state, the intricate rules, unspoken agreements, and delicate balances of human interaction become meaningless, even contemptible. Why negotiate when you can dominate? Why persuade when you can compel? Why feel sympathy for weakness when weakness is anathema to your very being? The few who allegedly achieve the pinnacle of this transformation are spoken of in hushed, fearful tones. They are described as beings of immense physical prowess, but utterly devoid of recognizable human traits. Their movements are efficient, almost predatory. Their gaze is unervingly direct, analytical, and utterly without warmth. They are solitary, driven by impulses that are no longer comprehensible to an ordinary human mind. They are, in essence, apex predators in a world not built for them, their strength a constant, terrifying reminder of the thin veneer of civilization. The tragic irony is that the initial pursuit is often driven by very human desires, the desire to overcome limitations, to achieve greatness, to protect one's self or others. Yet, the price of that power, if these accounts hold any truth, is the very humanity that made the quest meaningful in the first place. It's a Faustian bargain struck not with a demon, but with the deepest, oldest parts of one's own brain. Consider the implications if such a hack were truly possible and became widespread. Armies of soldiers impervious to pain and fear, capable of tearing through fortifications with their bare hands, but devoid of compassion or moral restraint. Athletes shattering every conceivable record, their bodies pushed to the absolute brink, but their minds regress to something cold and alien. What would society look like when a segment of its population possessed such power, coupled with such a profound psychological schism? The path to inhuman strength, it seems, is a journey inward into the primal core of our being. But it's a one-way trip. The safeguards being dismantled are not just physical. They're the emotional and psychological bulwarks that define our species. To remove them is to unleash not just a stronger version of oneself, but potentially a different entity altogether. An entity that might look human, might walk and talk like a human, but has left its humanity behind in the relentless pursuit of raw, untamed power. Dr. Thorne's final, barely legible scrawl, found on a datapad near his abandoned research outpost, offers a chilling epitaph to his life's work. I sought the Titan. I found the beast. The strength is magnificent, but the silence where my soul used to be, is deafening. We are not meant to unchain these depths. We are not strong enough to remain ourselves once we do. The brain hack, therefore, remains a forbidden frontier, a whispered legend in the subcultures of extreme human potential. It promises a godlike physique, the power to reshape the physical world with one's own hands. But the cost, it is warned, is the essence of what it means to be human. To gain the strength of a titan is perhaps to shed the heart and mind of a man, leaving behind a powerful, terrifying, and ultimately solitary creature, no longer constrained by human frailty, but also no longer part of humanity at all. The choice, if it truly exists, is stark. Remain beautifully, imperfectly human, or chase a power that may strip you of everything that makes life and self worth living.